Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Congratulations, you've made it to Thursday. Friday is right over there, I think, around the corner. I smell something. It smells like Friday. Welcome to New Life Live. I'm your host, Brian Perez. So thankful that you're listening and watching today, whether on the radio or maybe on Facebook or YouTube or on a podcast. There's so many ways to listen nowadays. We've got licensed professional clinical counselor Becky Brown here. She's also the president of New Life Ministries. And Dr. Jim Burns, the founder of Homeward, is going to start off with a few words of wisdom. Jim is sometimes a wise guy, but he's always a wise man. So, Jim, what do you have for us today?
I appreciate that. I won't tell them about the shirt that only the YouTube people are looking at right now.
You're making fun of the shirt again.
No, anyway. You know what? I just love I love being with Becky, for one thing. I think she's just such an incredible person. But I love the fact that we get a chance to talk with people who are struggling or not. Now, I'm going to go kind of light today because I want to give a phrase that somebody said to me one time. In fact, it was when at my graduation from my master's degree, a friend of mine said, "If the devil can't make you bad, he'll make you busy." I've said that on the air before. And I actually don't think that this is going to cover every problem of our listeners. But I think sometimes we have to understand that, and John Mark Comer said this so recently. He said, "Hurry is violence to our soul." And so I want us to think, is it possible that some of our problems are stemming not because of deep psychological wounds, and they do, and they are, but is it because we're so busy? The great theologian Vince Lombardi, the coach of the Green Bay Packers at one time, said, "Fatigue makes cowards of us all." And so I want to give a prescription, a weekly prescription for some of our listeners. I'm not saying it's going to change all their problems, but it may change. Circumstances may stay the same, but their attitude can be different. And what I'm going to say is, I think we need a time of rest. I think this nation, we're so busy. It's this breathless pace in which we live our lives. And we're so busy that sometimes we don't get good perspective in our marriages. We don't get good perspective with our kids. We don't get good perspective with our spiritual life because we're so busy trying to fill our life with stuff. And, I've often said busy people are broken people. And a lot of times people say to me, "Oh, wow, you're looking good. You look busy," meaning maybe life is going successful. No, busy people are often broken people, Brian and Becky. I just think that's so key, and I think we need to hear that. So we need a time of rest. Do we rest? If somebody doesn't take a 24-hour period of rest, actually the Bible calls it Sabbath, which means literally in Hebrew rest. I think we need a time of refreshing. What do we do to refresh our soul? After a week, it gets kind of torn apart. So we need refreshing and restoring. Kathy and I go on a date every week because it restores our relationship. It doesn't mean that our relationship is always broken, but that weekly date, the discipline of a weekly date, really makes a difference. And then recreation. I'm using all R's here, if you didn't notice. And, play. I think we've got to play and celebrate. And some of us are so busy and we get so focused on all of our stuff and even some of our problems that sometimes what we need to do is simply just, all out, have a fun time and do some laughing. And Kathy and I were talking this week and we said, "Hey, we want to go to a movie." And then Kathy goes, "I want to go to a movie where we're going to laugh." Because we talked about one movie that isn't a laughing movie. She goes, "I don't want to go to that movie yet. I want to go to a movie where we're just going to laugh and have fun." That's a wise comment on her part. So today I want to give you permission to find some rest in there. By the way, that's very, very biblical, and it's also healing to your soul, healing to your mind, healing to your spirit.
Yeah. Becky?
I just love that, and I think of that little quip that says, "I'm sorry for what I said when I was hangry." And I always think, I'm sorry for what I said when I'm tired, because, there's no runway there.
No, you're so
Take a break.
You're so right. Yeah.
Sorry for what I said before coffee. Yes, indeed.
There you go.
We need to rest. It is so important. Okay, we're going to take a quick rest break, really quick, like a minute, and then we'll be back to your phone calls. Brenda, you're going to be first here on New Life Live. Thank you guys for listening and watching today.
I went to Every Man's Battle in 2012. My sexual integrity was not what it should have been. I sought out affairs, whether physical or emotional. Until I came to Every Man's Battle, I didn't understand that would never fill that void.
Every day, men struggle with sexual integrity. Impure thoughts, strip clubs, affairs, pornography.
The shame and guilt was overwhelming.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Intensive.
You will discover what the true root of your pain is, and you will discover how to overcome.
You don't have to struggle any longer. Get help in Dallas, Texas, July 18th through the 20th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Enter the code NLL for a discount.
Every Man's Battle saved my life.
1-800-NEWLIFE and the discount code NLL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
And let's go to Sacramento. That is where Brenda is listening to us on Sirius XM Channel 131. Hi, Brenda. Welcome to New Life Live. You're on with Becky Brown and Dr. Jim Burns.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call. I was talking to someone recently, and he told me that his wife suffers from dissociative identity disorder. And I have to be honest, I really didn't even know what that is. And then when I looked into it, it looked like perhaps what we used to call multiple personality disorder. And I don't know too much about their situation. He did mention that his wife had been molested as a child. And I was just curious to know more about this disorder, and what does someone, what does a spouse do when their spouse has it, and what's the best way to cope, and also to help the spouse?
Okay, Becky?
Well, nothing like a really easy conversation. I'm being sarcastic. Dissociative identity disorder is very complex, and it's usually a result, like he said, about, if she had to survive something very traumatic. And so what happens is the personality literally splits into different parts. And so, it's interesting over the years, and research has shown us, all of us dissociate at times. Like if you think about, if you're on a long drive somewhere and you don't remember mile 2 to mile 40, 100 or whatever, you're in the car and you're in your head. Well, that's very similar to what happens in DID. That's the abbreviation, where a different part of your brain, your personality, is actually operating. It can be very scary for the person who is experiencing it, but it also has been a survival mode. There's so much complexity to this, but back in the 70s, the movie Sybil, many of you remember that, was an experience of that. And we used to call it schizophrenia, which was an incorrect topic. A lot of people will say, oh, they're schizophrenic. No, they're not. There's a difference between the two diagnoses. But the basic thing is that there's been some wounding where the parts inside of their personality have divided in order to survive. Then what the treatment plan has to be is to reintegrate those parts. And it happens through, it's long-term therapy. And in this case with a spouse, it would be very important for the spouse to be part of that therapeutic process. Not 100%, but, to reintegrate a personality, it takes a lot of work. It takes addressing the original trauma, but it also can create a strong sense of identity in the person once they're integrated, or even when they can identify the different parts that are happening. But I know that sounds very chaotic, but that's what a person who has DID experiences, but it is a survival technique that happens within a person in times of very severe trauma.
Yeah. A lot of times you'll see it when somebody has, let's say, for example, someone was sexually molested as a child and they honestly don't remember it. And then the memory comes back maybe when they had their daughter was 8, and all of a sudden they start having these weird memories. And what has happened was their mind, this is what's so interesting about this, is their mind basically covered that up and said, I'm going to cover up this pain. It's nothing that they did. It's nothing that they really can do until it starts coming to. But today there is good. You said it right. I mean, there's long-term therapy. Sometimes there's some medication that can help. But I think what we sometimes make the mistake with anybody, if we all of a sudden become minor experts, which would be me, is saying, okay, you start saying, well, we classify everybody that had some kind of a trauma or can't remember something or has a loss of memory. Well, that's their issue. But I call it before freedom comes pain. This is these people who can get freedom and they can get help, but they may have to look at the pain of whatever that trauma was.
I also wonder, I also think too, Jim, along that same line, I think people who struggle with dissociative identity disorder have this incredible sensitivity to what is going on inside of them as a result of this. So it's whether, when you think about, they call them their alters, alter ego or alter self, and they identify closely with those parts and inside of them that they actually create like a community. And I know that sounds way out there, but there are many people who this is how they experience life. Now, on a much smaller scale, people who, like I said before, many of us dissociate. There's lots of us that do that. Sure. We do it when we're scrolling, believe it or not. You're not really fully present. You're just, randomly, you're not paying attention. So think about that in an extreme. But I think that there is hope, there is help. But many people who struggle with this really feel a sense of torture within themselves. And so they need great care, consistency, as well as the people who love them.
Right. And they don't know why sometimes. And so it's actually when they hear, when they work through it and they all of a sudden go, well, maybe this did happen to me. That's actually something that it sounds horrible, but it actually is something that gives them some freedom to go, oh, that's why I'm acting the way I'm acting. Or that's why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking. It begins to make sense for them.
Yeah. And Brenda, if they ask you for, what would you do? They need to get the best help possible.
Yeah.
There are people that specialize in this, and it's worth every dollar that it would take to get the help.
Yeah.
What should the husband do, like on a day-to-day basis? What should be his response, like when she forgets things or, misses appointments and that sort of thing?
Well, I think there's got to be a family plan. This happens a lot, even with other diagnoses or even addictions. Everybody is all hands on deck, so that there is a plan. Because what can happen for him, he can get frustrated, he can get overwhelmed because this will be ongoing. And that part of that acceptance of what is our plan? How will we manage her appointments or, when these things occur? But a good therapist who specializes in dissociative identity disorder can help that family walk through and create that plan for support.
Yeah.
And, it'll take a village.
Yeah, it does take a village. And sometimes it's as simple as, and again, this is not what you're talking about, but when somebody has dementia, you kind of have to, they're not in that stage, you're saying, okay, let's review today. Now, do you have any appointments? Because this is what I'm going to do. And you make it actually almost honoring to them. Medicine, I wonder if we should buy one of those things at the local drugstore that puts your pills and we'll do it once a week. All those kinds of things. That actually does help. So the review side, now they're engaged, but they're not being demeaning to that person. And that can help. That just the practicality of that's not going to take away the issue, but it's going to it'll help with the practicality when you said what can a spouse do?
Yeah, anybody who is in relationship with somebody who's struggling with mental illness, there is a grief that goes into, well, actually, if they're struggling with addiction or if they're struggling, there's lots of grief that comes in to play when it's not what you thought it was going to be. And I'm sure he did not marry her thinking that this was what he was going to have to deal with.
Right.
And he also can rise to the occasion with the strategy, with the support, and can actually be part of the healing story.
What do you think, Brenda?
Thank you. Thank you. That's helpful, and I'll tell him what you've said, but also get him to listen to it, and maybe you said something that can trigger him to try something new that maybe they haven't tried before.
Yeah, that's good.
He needs the help too. I mean, he needs to have somebody come alongside him and give him wisdom and guidance. And it's not something he can do on his own. Becky said this with the person who's struggling with it, but also the person who's the caregiver or the partner and whatever. They need help too. They need guidance. And today, what's really good is there are experts and there is guidance.
Yeah, let's send a copy of 100 Days of Prayer. And Brenda, you can comfort you, but maybe you can even pass along to him.
Thank you.
Brenda, stay on the phone, and we will send you a copy of that devotional, which is also available at newlife.com in the store. Becky Brown, we do so much for people here at New Life, not just on the radio program, but the ministry in general. I mean, we've got so many resources available at newlife.com. We do these intensives. We've got podcasts, so much going on. It never ceases to amaze me. The thousands of people that we've helped over the years, like 37 years now here at New Life, of people looking for help and guidance for their kids, their marriage, for their job situation, whatever it might be. How do we do all this? And can we do more?
Yes, by the grace of God, that's how we do it, but also by the faithful support of listeners all over the world, really. People who have received help from New Life, but also believe in the mission of New Life. They invest in the lives of so many people when they give to New Life. We've got a great group of people who give monthly. We've got some people who give large gifts because God has blessed them, and they want to pay it back into the lives of the people that we serve. We've been doing this a long time. We've actually been doing it before anybody else was doing it. And in this day and age, when there's so many voices out there who want to help you, and we appreciate the help, but it's not always godly centered professional counseling. It's not that combination. And the integration of our faith in those next steps in our life is so powerful. And so when people give to New Life, they can know that we are using every dollar to the fullest extent that we can. Because it's ministry, that's how we do it. But also because we know that there is hope for people who struggle, just like this caller that we just talked to. Her compassion for this friend who's struggling. And, we've all been there where we have people in our lives that are struggling, and where do we go? How do we know what to do or where to find the resource? That's what New Life is all about. We want people to know that you can get the help that you need. We can connect you wherever you are. We have recently, I was just telling you all this earlier, that we have people all over the world that are listening. We have people in Guatemala, Jim mentioned that. We have people in Australia that are doing life recovery groups. We have people in Pakistan that are listening to the broadcast. Think about the truth of God's word and godly counsel going out to the corners of the earth. And that is the hope that we want to continue to give. So if you haven't given and you've been listening for a long time, make today the day that you reach out to New Life and donate. You never know what life you will be saving. And it may even be your own, because you'll be listening.
Yeah, you can give online at newlife.com or by calling us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You can text NLM, as in New Life Ministries, to 28950. It can be a one-time gift. It can be a recurring gift, a monthly gift. You can be part of Club New Life, and there's so many different benefits that you can get, ways that we say thank you for being a Club New Life member. Again, you can get all the details at newlife.com. And to further on what Becky said, there is so much out there nowadays in terms of people uploading videos to TikTok or Instagram where they're like these experts, these influencers, and a lot of them don't have training or anything. They're just spewing things out that might sound great for the moment, but it's not really offering people the help that they need. It's more like a Band-Aid. Not all of them, but I think too many of them are just giving that advice that isn't going to really go anywhere.
Well, you know what I'm always encouraged by? I'm glad that people are offering help, but life is very complex. And so sometimes it's not as simple as just watching a little video. You need people around you. You need somebody who has studied and has passed state boards and all those kind of things. But also, can align with you in the journey. And I think that's really the challenge that we have in this day and age. But we're here for you. We want to keep going for the next 40 years.
Yes, indeed. So give online at newlife.com, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or text NLM to 28950. And another way you can help us is to spread the word about us. Tell your friends about us, get on social media, and let them know where they can find the help that they need. It's here at New Life Live. God bless you guys. We'll be back.
I was stuck. I was so stuck. 27 years married. My husband addicted to pornography for the majority of our marriage. I was very isolated and didn't really know which way to turn.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, Restore Intensive will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
When two people want to do their part, we can be restored. But if they don't, we can still be restored. We are not stuck because someone else made a decision. That God lets us weigh in on how we want to walk out our lives. Our wellness does not hinge on another person's decision.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Washington, D.C. November 7th to the 9th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
You guys helped me figure out what was going on.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found life recovery. And one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Hey, by the way, super quick, no offense to any influencers out there. I didn't mean anything by what I said earlier, but just wanted to drive the point home of what we do here at New Life. And what you guys are doing as influencers is probably better than what you might get from a horoscope, a tarot card reader, and No, because I saw a survey, 27% of Christians consult horoscopes, tarot cards, and astrology. I don't know if you heard about this, guys. According to Pew Research, more than a quarter of Christians engage with such psychic phenomena, most often astrology in the form of printed horoscopes, once or twice a year. Most who do so say it's just for fun. But while many respondents said such activities are mostly a fun pastime, 25% of Christians believe the astrological positions of the planets and stars impact their lives, which is nearly as high as the 27% of the general U.S. adult population who say the same. So Christians are delving into this stuff. They haven't been reading
their Bible.
I guess not.
They haven't been reading their Bible because, isn't there so many stories about, tear down the high places? And I was reading about it this morning in 2 Kings. It's that whole story about you have a king who does the right thing, and then you got another king who sets up the Ashura poles and the high places, and and consults the what do they call it in the Bible? They call it the stars. It's the stars that they're talking about, the heavenly lights or whatever. And so it's astrology. I thought about that this morning. It's weird that you brought up that. But listen, if you're looking at the astrology of the day, I got a better way for you to know what God has for you today. Get in the Word. There you go.
Yeah. Follow the one who created the stars.
Hey.
Yeah. But what do you say to the people who are just doing it for fun? They know that there's really nothing in there. They're just like wondering. And most of the people, according to this survey, most of the Christians who are doing it are just doing it for, let me just read what it says. It might come true. It probably won't. It's like getting a fortune cookie at the, Chinese restaurant.
Well, I told my kids, don't play with fire. I think that there's some things in there that you got to be really careful on. We have to watch our spirit. We have to guard our heart. The Bible says, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life.
Yeah.
And so I think that people say, well, I just went out on a quick coffee date with my person that I'm working with at my office. Well, we're not guarding our heart. We have to be careful. I think that's where we have to be very careful with some of the extra spiritual astrology type things.
Yeah.
And I think we downplay it. Are they going to be okay? Is life going to go on? I mean, probably so, but that doesn't mean if we did it for any reason, then I think we're playing with fire.
Yeah.
And like we say to our 5-year-olds, don't touch that fire.
Yeah.
And so I think we have to be real careful with that.
Yeah.
That's part of growing in our faith, is guarding our heart.
And I also think just that point, Jim, that, growing in your faith. So I want to challenge you, if you are doing, horoscope, astrology, whatever the thing is, and you're not reading the Word, what's that about? If you're a believer, there's that statistic that, if you read the Bible 3 days a week, it doesn't really make a difference. But on that fourth day, it makes all the difference in the world. There was a survey about that. So I want to, maybe, and I know this is true because I know a lot of Christians, they're not reading the Word. They're not in the Word every day.
Yeah.
So if you're into horoscopes and you're into astrology, I want you to take the challenge to start reading the Word every day. Don't give up your astrology and horoscope right this second. But I can guarantee once you start a regular intake of God's Word, it will change your brain. It will change your life. It'll change what you find attractive. And it will also change the way that you just accept anything as, it's no big deal. And you don't become hardcore, just too rough about that, but literally get the Word of God in your life.
Yeah, I love.
Thanks for bringing it up, Brian.
I love that you're saying that. In 1983, this dates me, of course, but I was actually around when you said New Life 37 years ago. Oh my goodness, I was on the board and I was there before it started with my friend Steve. But in 1983, I made a commitment to read through the Bible every year. And I have to admit to you that today I super rushed it. I had a breakfast, I had other things, but I did it, right? And I don't remember what I ate 2 weeks ago, but it nourishes me for today. And I think that's the same when we put the Word of God in our mind. And so, it's a discipline. We forget that part of our Christian life, it's all about the grace of Jesus. And yet also it's about the discipline of practicing the spiritual disciplines. And we've got to do that. And when we do that, I've never heard anybody say, you know what, I spent the last 40 minutes scrolling or looking at astrology or something like that. They regret that. But I've never heard anybody say, I regret putting the Word of God in my heart and mind.
Right. It's so true, Jim. I also read through the Bible every year, do Old Testament, New Testament, Psalms, Proverbs.
Me too. Way to go.
The path, And I started years ago. We probably have a mutual friend, Becky Brown.
Sure.
She had challenged us to, many of you aren't even praying. You're not even praying. And so, but you think it's all or nothing. So, don't get dogmatic about it. Don't get too legalistic about, I got to catch up. No, start where you are. So there are so many ways for you to get the Word of God into your life. There's apps, there's Bible reading plans.
Yeah.
It has to become part of your discipline.
Yeah.
If you're a follower of Christ, you're missing out on one of the best parts of your faith journey if you're not in the Word. So Good thing that you brought that up, Brian, because we just went on a tear. I mean, you know.
And there was something else I was going to bring it up, but it sounds like the music is there, so we're going to go to our break, and we'll be back with some questions that were emailed to us. By the way, we've got Bibles available in the newlife.com store. Look at those if you need a new Bible or if you want to give a gift to someone. They're right there available where you can purchase them, and in different size, large print, regular print. Check it out, newlife.com.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Club New Life changes lives.
I think I go way back to listening to New Life, learning so much from it, and then becoming a Club New Life member.
Club New Life is a monthly giving family that helps New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people.
I'm so thankful because why I keep giving? Because I keep learning, and I'm so thankful for all the lives that you touch every day and the people's lives. So when I get to still hear the radio show, it's just so encouraging to my heart.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
And one reason I give? Because I feel like sometimes I'm hiding behind a counselor's couch, listening to all this great information and not paying. So my guilt of this great advice is alleviated by being a Club New Life member.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. And together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Wedding season is upon us. Hundreds of thousands of happy couples tying the knot. But marital bliss and the honeymoon phase isn't just for newlyweds. If you think your marriage is beyond hope, it's not. Let God do a healing work in your desperate situation through New Life's Intimacy and Marriage Weekend Intensive. Jim and Becky, we hear and see it time and time again. Here's what one attendee said. God took our dead marriage of dried bones and used New Life to speak life and hope into an impossible situation. This can be your story too. Our next workshop starts in about 2 weeks. Early bird pricing ends tomorrow. Visit newlife.com/IIM as in Intimacy in Marriage for all the details and to register, or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You will never regret getting help for your marriage, but you might regret if you don't. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit newlife.com/IIM. Here's a question that was sent in online. It's from Sherry, and it sounds like she might be able to, she might need to use an Intimacy and Marriage Intensive. Here's what she writes. Am I crazy to think God has released me from my short marriage? Here's the background. My husband changed right after we got married, and his answer was that he has a different role now. I feel like after learning about narcissism and gaslighting that he has narcissistic tendencies. I filed for divorce in May of last year. I felt so stressed I couldn't even say his last name, and I can't wait to go back to my former name. I heard from Leslie Vernick that if a spouse does not admit to any issues, then don't go to marital counseling right away. I told him that after we both go to individual counseling for 6 months, then I would go to marriage counseling. He went to counseling for 2 sessions and says the counselor said he does not have any issues to work on. That tells me he doesn't want to work on himself. I don't trust him, says Sherry. I don't feel I loved him when I married. I basically let the large singles group we hung out with choose him for me, and they all thought he was great. I saw some red flags, but ignored them. Like, he was not in the wrong in any of his previous relationships, the way he talked to his mother and ex-wife with resentment in his voice, even though he said he forgave them. I've stopped my petition for divorce due to him having an attorney, and I did not. He counter-petitioned, and I've been trying to decide where to go from here. I'm at peace without him, says Sherry. But what do you think? Has God released me from my marriage? What do you guys say?
Well, I don't want to speak for God. Do you, Jim?
No, I was just going to say same thing. I think we have to be. I think we have to be careful on that, Brian, because we sometimes. I remember, my goodness, this is dating me, but Kathy and I were dating, and I said, God has led me to break up with you, and she said, well, he hasn't talked to me about that, kind of thing. And I used the God card. Yes. I'm not saying she's not. I'm not saying that in jest, because I understand she is in a crisis. And I understand, Leslie, I respect her a lot. And I think a lot of times before we get marriage counseling, we do need to get some work on ourselves. But if I was her, I would make sure that I was seeing a counselor on a regular basis. And I don't know that you give up too early, but something drew her to it. It doesn't sound good. Honestly, it doesn't sound good. It sounds like a mess that she's involved in. She's going to have to work on her. She can't change him. At this point, it doesn't. Right. So I think she's going to have to make sure that she I would say don't rush it. Don't start dating somebody else. Don't get yourself in more of a mess. Work through this process, and at the least, she's going to understand what on earth was she doing listening to other people when she saw red flags and things like that. That, to me, is as much of an issue as most of the other things she said, and I just numbered them down the road. So I think this is where, and again, obviously, she's writing to a counseling show, but this is where we need counsel, and this is where she needs great wisdom and God's wisdom. Don't be too quick to, blame God on a situation like this, or to, like, God has released me from a marriage. That doesn't seem to be the tendency, but again, that's why she needs God-honoring counseling from within her world, and maybe even talk to her pastor about it and whatnot, as well as talk to a therapist. But I think she's in the midst of it. So I think when you're in the midst of the mess, you gotta go get some help to kind of clear the view. It didn't sound to me like she had a clear enough view. That's my opinion. I'll be interested to see what Becky thinks.
Well, my thought is that you've only just begun, Sherry. A lot of time, which is coining an old song, right?
The Carpenters.
That we sing at marriage.
Wait,
yes,
I had a crush on her. Don't. I could sing that to you.
But you know what? Thanks. Please do. But Sherry, here, you are in a mess. But what I'm hearing too, just going along with what you just said, Jim, about here's the thing. There's a phrase that I just learned, and I've been saying it so many times: strong internal fortitude. Sure, you don't have that right now. I mean, even if you went along with the crowd to get into this marriage, that means you don't have that strong internal fortitude. It goes back to what Jim just said. You're going to have to find that. But here's my little caveat. A lot of times couples at the end of a relationship or end of a marriage, they go to lawyers and they don't sit in the room together until they're with the lawyers in the room. That's not where you want to work this out. I would encourage you to go to couples counseling, not to redeem the marriage, but literally to unwind this, to really make the case that you need to divorce. Like, you individually, you may have these thoughts, but it's a whole different conversation when everybody's in the room. We always get calls and questions about biblical grounds for marriage, and we know that they are adultery, abuse, and abandonment, right? Isn't that what we agree on? And even within those terms, there's complexities within that, because we know lots of couples who survive adultery and actually have better relationships post-adultery, because it's not just the thing. So I tell couples all the time, you need to work yourself out of the relationship, because if you don't, you'll get done with this marriage, and guess what? You're going to go find somebody else, has a different name, they look a little different, but they got all the same stuff because you're attracted to it. And that goes back to my statement, strong internal fortitude. Whether he is narcissist or has narcissistic tendencies, all of those kind of diagnostics go to the wayside when you sit in the room together and why did we get married? Why are we still in this marriage? And what makes me, why do I want to leave so bad? Sometimes those early stages of marriage can also trip us up with our own intimacy issues. We talk about this at the Intimacy in Marriage. Brian, you suggested that maybe they should go, and maybe they should, because they could probably figure out their histories are colliding. That's what we talk about at Intimacy in Marriage, is understanding those the places where we cannot connect because of what we bring into the relationship. So Sherry, I would say, you really need to reconnect with the counselor, with the two of you. You need a counselor for your own work. And then when you make the decision, you'll be sure whether you stay or you go. Because that's the other thing. If you stay and you have these doubts, just like when you got married to him to begin with, you had doubts, but you went through with it. Want to have strong internal fortitude. And with that, I'll stop talking.
Yeah. I like the word unwind, because she's kind of in a mess. And, periodically my wife will have me fix her. She has a necklace and she'll go, hey, I'm the unwinder of the necklace. And it takes a lot of time. Yes. And once it's unwound, then the necklace works. But when it's all binded up, and I think part of the, counseling may not bring them back together. It actually may give them better insight to what on earth took place. But I don't think she knows yet. She knows some because she mentioned it. But I think it would be really helpful for them to sit in that same room before they sit in the room, like you said, with the attorney, to kind of go, what went on here? What is going on? Right. Because, and then internal, say it, internal.
It's strong internal fortitude. Write it down, Jim, because you're going to go back to it 100 times like I have.
It's your quote for the day, but I'm going to start using it tomorrow, and I'll start. I've always thought, but honestly, that is so critical for all of us, and that's what she can work on, and that's going to give her insight into what's going on. Not playing the blame game. She started with the blame game, and then she moved to some other things. And again, he doesn't sound like he's the Prince Charming that she thought he was. But you're not going to really totally understand that until you have that strong internal fortitude, and in terms of unwinding this thing. Never easy.
Well, and then she kind of dropped in there that he had an ex-wife. Okay, well, what's the story about the first marriage? Right. And whenever we counsel couples who are getting either married for the second time, and we have couples that actually come to Intimacy in Marriage as engaged. I led one of those groups before. They were engaged. All of the couples, this was their second marriage, and they wanted to make sure we were ready for this second, because we don't want to repeat the mistakes. No. We want to figure it out, and we don't want to tag everything that's typical in marriage, because you're going to have struggles, the fact that there was a previous marriage, because it's not always about the previous marriage, but we do have to unwind. Get that necklace all straightened out.
All right.
Sherry, thank you for sending in your question on newlife.com/radio. And to find out more about the Intimacy and Marriage Intensive, go to newlife.com/IIM. It starts 2 weeks from tomorrow, July 25th in Washington, D.C. Early bird pricing ends tomorrow, so take advantage of that for sure. And it's open to engaged couples as well. Again, go to newlife.com/IIM. We will be right back.
Do you need help for life's hard situations?
My husband recently said he wanted a divorce.
I'm confused on what I should do.
I have an eating disorder.
New Life Live answers your questions on relationships, grief, addiction, trauma, anxiety, and much more, all from a biblical perspective with our panel of professional counselors and psychologists.
I learn a lot from your program.
You help so many people.
I appreciate your ministry.
Whether you listen or watch, there are so many ways to connect with us to ask our panel of counselors a question. Call us Monday through Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific at 1-800-229-3000 to ask your question on New Life Live. Or go to newlife.com/radio for other ways to get your question answered.
I'm trying to find help.
I just want to know how to set boundaries.
If it's a sin, what am I supposed to do?
Need a therapist or a coach, a resource, or an intensive? Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. For over 35 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addiction, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
I found a counselor through New Life Ministries, and it's just been outstanding.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first steps toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door for a better tomorrow.
To get someone that's competent, that's good at what they do, it's been like day and night compared to what I've had before.
Call 1-800-639-5433. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Hey, would you tell someone today about New Life? Sadly, people are struggling all the time. No doubt you know someone who's going through it, and New Life can connect them to the hope and healing that they need. So be an encouragement to someone today by pointing them to the help they need right here. Send them to newlife.com or 1-800-NEW-LIFE or our YouTube channel. There are so many different ways that we get the word out about the help that people need. They just need to call us when we're here, either doing the radio program. They can call our call center at 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or they can go to our website, newlife.com. Lots of great stuff that we do here at New Life, that's for sure. So let's do another question that was sent in online. Where is it? Here it is. KB writes, "We are so thankful for New Life. You have equipped us for the journey through intimacy and marriage seminars, the Lose It for Life small group, and daily listening. And I'm happy to be a Club New Life member." Thank you, KB. So how can we help an adult daughter, a single professional living at home who's been actively struggling with alcohol addiction for years? We don't support her. She pays some rent. She's strong, beautiful, respectful, brilliant, but stuck. We've suggested a medical detox to get her going. She's claimed to be open to the idea, as she said she'd hit rock bottom last week. We are both avoiders and people pleasers, but as we listen to her daily anxiety and struggles, it's very stressful knowing she's harming herself. I know it's her choice, but I don't want to ignore the problem anymore. It's difficult for us to confront her. Please help. What are our options, or do we wait it out? We're willing to do what is best, but we don't know. And sadly, I know there are so many parents in this situation. Yeah, there probably are, KB, so we thank you for writing in, because now everyone who's in this situation is going to be listening to what you guys say to KB. So, Becky?
Well, I want Jim to start because, I mean, this is all about those adult children. I've got a million questions I want to ask, but go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. Well, again, and by the way, this is a very normal question we get every day. I didn't realize when I wrote the book, Doing Life with Your Adult Children, that for the rest of my life I was going to get questions like this every day.
Yes.
Right? And actually, this has some real hope. What I'm picking out, and I wish she was a call. I love that they write us, but I would have loved to have had a couple, some dialogue with her. But the point being is,
she did include her phone number if we want to call her right now.
Right, here we go. We can do it.
We won't do that.
Yeah.
We won't do that.
Sorry, I'm at work or whatever.
Yeah.
But the point I was going to say is one is the daughter wants help. So they better pounce on that. They said they were avoiders. Well, quit avoiding. Do not pass go. Help her get help. She's going to have to make that decision. They can also, and again, this is tough for somebody who's an avoider, but they can also help what we call create a crisis. The crisis might be, honey, we love you so much, and you're brilliant, you're awesome, all the things that she said. However, right now you're living at our house, you're paying your own way, but we do not want an alcoholic living in our house. And so actually we're going to ask you to go get that help, or something else is going to happen. Like maybe you may not be able to live in this home. And what you've then done is helped greatly. You've created a crisis enough where she goes, you know what, I'm going to go get the help.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all you need. But I would say take it a little bit farther, especially because the adult child is living in the home. So now you've got better conversation than, you can't do that if they're out on their own.
Yeah, Becky?
Right. Well, and I would just say, do not wait. Like you said, Jim,
Yeah.
do not wait.
Oh, no.
And guess what, KB? New Life can help you with that. We can get you connected with a treatment center so that they will tell you how this works.
Right.
It's, she is asking for help, so we want to take advantage of that. And it doesn't, I think, she mentioned something about detox. Let's get her to good treatment. We've got treatment centers all over the country that we connect with, and we can do that today.
Yeah.
So we'll take her phone number and give it to our call center, and they will connect with them.
For sure. Thank you, KB, for writing in through newlife.com/radio. And now we'll go from KB to Kay in Hyattsville, Maryland, listening on WAVA. We are running out of time on the program, Kay, so get to your question as soon as you can. What's going on with you?
Well, I have a question because I am not, I don't get into political discussions, right? It's not, I'm not well informed enough to get into a political discussion. And we were at our daughter's house for a holiday, and I have a very brilliant son-in-law and love him dearly. But we were discussing things, and all of a sudden it got on to, we don't even know how our children vote, because it's not that important to us how you vote, right?
Okay.
You do what you want. And so we got into a discussion, and my son-in-law wanted the discussion to be around politics. And I tried to get out of it, but I couldn't. And then he told me that I really hurt my daughter because of the way I voted. And I sat there and I thought, when I voted, I wasn't even thinking of her, right? I was thinking about our country. I was thinking about decisions that could be made. I was voting for someone. I don't know anyone that I have voted for as president to be the perfect man, if you know what I mean.
Right.
But I look at the gifts and talents of the person beyond their imperfectness and decide by how they live and what they've done and the fruit that they have shown, not their sin. But
Kay, because we're gonna run out of time, but I want to know, how is your relationship with them now?
I don't get into I don't make it a big thing, right? I mean,
Right. I mean, like, after he made that,
says not to say a lot of words. I don't say a lot of words. We haven't talked to him, no. Because
You haven't spoken since that holiday?
No.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Because I'm not a good debater. Okay, so to me, also too, the Bible says that in the multitude of words, there's not a lot of wisdom, right?
Right.
And
but so here's the thing, Kay. You want to be in relationship with your adult son and daughter-in-law, or daughter and son-in-law, and the relationship preceded any political decision on anybody's part. And so I don't think silence is going to be helpful, as far as, like, if he said something like that and then you never say anything. But treading back towards them is going to be precarious at best. But it can be a non-topic. I mean, Jim, I know you talk about this on, all the time. It's like, how do we connect when we're not connecting about things that really are not about our relationship? I don't think you voted to hurt her. I think that's what their perspective is.
Right. And you have a couple options. You know what my option is? My option with my family, because we've canceled each other's votes, I'm sure, is I just say, hey, you know what? I love you guys so much, but you know what? That's not even something, I'm going to talk about. My kids honestly do not know how I voted, and they try to ask me and they'll push or whatever, and I just go, you know what? That's just personal, and I do that partly because I just don't want that to be a wedge. Like you said, you vote for people, on a regular basis, and you vote for their character or their ability to do something. But again, that's going to change every so many years. So you don't have to. We would have some problems probably in our house if we just brought it up. So my kids actually respect it. I go, you guys just need to respect. We're not going to talk about it, and they can if they want, and I just listen. But I don't give them my input. That's keep your mouth shut. that kind of a thing. Bite your tongue.
Do you keep your mouth shut and the welcome mat out?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which so happens to be the subtitle of your book called Doing
And
Life
we'll
with Your
send it to
Adult
Kay.
Children. Yes, Kay, we're going to send you a copy of this great book, so stay on hold, and we'll get your address and send that to you. Hey, thank you, Kay, for calling in today, and everyone else as well. We're going to be back here tomorrow, and we can't wait to speak with you here on New Life Live. God bless you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.